Should you own your home in retirement? The conventional wisdom says you should. And in fact, over three-fourths of people over 60 years old do own their own home. But does it make sense in today's world? I've been a financial advisor for over 20 years, and I'm going to grab that third rail, and I'm going to give you some reasons why I think the conventional wisdom might be wrong, or at least for you to consider these points as you think about what's right for you. Okay, the idea for having a home when you're retired is at least you have that security, knowing that you have a home, and nobody's going to be able to take that away from you. And just having that peace of mind. And there's a lot to be said for that. I don't want to minimize that. But let's talk about, what are the expenses when you're in retirement of having a home? And property tax for most of us, unless we live in California because of Prop 13, most of us don't know what property tax are going to be in 2, 3, 4 years, 10 years, 20 years. That is out of our control. And unfortunately, the trends are heading in the wrong direction. The trends are property tax rates are increasing substantially. What seniors are paying for property tax is increasing. I think it would be great if when people are 65 or older, if states could freeze our property tax or at least keep them in line with inflation or less. So that's number one, is property tax. The next one is homeowners insurance, right? Few of us want to own a home and not have homeowners insurance. That would be devastating. But the cost of homeowners insurance is rising dramatically, and as natural disasters increase, places like Florida and California come to mind, Florida with their hurricanes, California with the wildfires, the rates of insurance increases are going up. And multiple studies have shown that because certain states have controls on how much homeowners insurance can increase in any given year, because of that, we all pay, all Americans pay. So what the insurance companies do is they raise rates more in states where they don't have that limitation to make up for the losses in other places. So even if you don't live in an accident-prone area, we can still be subject to that. And then the whole idea of maintenance. What's the maintenance cost going to be? And in general, and I think it's a pretty good rule of thumb, we should budget about 1% of the value of our home just to keep it up, to keep up with the maintenance. And that can get expensive, and it can also be a headache over time, a headache that oftentimes many of us don't want to deal with as we get older, or, candidly, as we get older, it becomes harder for us to deal with stuff like that mentally. So having that home, plus our needs might change, right? We might need wheelchair access or something like that, and that can be expensive as well. So the adage of you want to be able to control your expenses, you want to have that security over you, there's a lot of factors out of our control. And there can be something said for renting as well. And when you rent, the nice thing is it also frees up a lot of capital that we can have that capital working for us in order to help fund our retirement. One of the challenges Americans face is most of us have half of our net worth locked up in our house. And so that's money that cannot be invested to support our retirement. Now, yes, we're going to have to go re-put that money into rent, but I would argue for many of us, like for my wife and I, when my kids left for college and now are out and on their own, we had a much bigger house than what we needed. So many of us could be happy renting something that would probably be smaller and put us in a situation where we're more social because of the environment, whether it's an over 55 plus community or you're in an apartment complex that has different ages, and that has its pluses as well, right? It's good to mix up with folks at different ages. So another advantage of not having a house is it frees up your capital to be working for you. And maybe, this isn't investment advice, but something I think retirees should consider, and you want to work with your own financial advisor, is the benefits of dividend paying stocks. Dividends where the companies are paying cash flows to you on a fairly predictable basis and on a regular basis. And the reason dividends can be powerful is multiple studies have shown that people that have pensions, so think of a dividend almost like a pension, it's coming in, it's more predictable than the returns on the stock market. And people that have that dependable income coming in are more likely to spend that money. Now, there's multiple studies that have shown that many people don't spend down their money in retirement. And part of that is just the fear that comes with the volatility associated with the stock market, the fear that you don't know if you're going to have enough money. But when people have a pension, when they have that predictable income coming in, they tend to spend more of it and they're able to enjoy life more. So that can be another benefit. When you sell the house, it unlocks that equity that you can then invest it in order to provide that thing that feels more like a pension to you. Now, another thing that feels like a pension is an annuity. An annuity is a contract with an insurance company. I'm not licensed to sell annuities. I don't want to be licensed to sell annuities. But again, it's that predictable income that gives people a peace of mind. Now, what I will say is you want to be careful with annuities because they tend to have pretty high sales commissions. So people you're talking to might get 5, 6, 7%. If you put in $100,000, they might make $5, $6, $7,000 or more. So try to find a fiduciary financial advisor, somebody that's working for you, solely for you, and not trying to sell you anything, and see if that might make sense. I can tell you oftentimes when people look at the fine print with annuities, they say, you know what, there's characteristics I like, but there's also things that I don't like with annuities. So for sure you want to measure twice and cut once to see if that's the right thing for you. But is it the right thing for all of us to own a house? I think there's a lot of reasons that we want to think about that. Another one is as we enter different chapters of our life, we have different needs. So we might want to move closer to an adult child that might be willing to help us as we get older, which, that's my hope that, and when I need help, like right now, my wife is a wonderful person helping her father as he ages. And I hope when my time comes, I have somebody like that in my life, but I want to have the flexibility for that. So my personal plan is I may own a house, but probably by 75, I won't own a home for sure by 80, just because it gets harder to put up with the various things, the mental task. And I think at 80, I'm going to be fine, but I don't want to wait until after I go past that line where it becomes harder for me to handle some of those issues. And so making a decision like this is important. It's also an important decision, which is when you decide to retire. And that's why I made this video up here. Why waiting to 65 to retire might be a big mistake. Thanks for watching this one. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.